I'm Brown-Emberton, and this is my presentation reviewing my instructional design model that I created and the 2-hour lesson unit that I implemented based on the model. First of all, I will go to the model, and this is my ACLSA instructional design model. It is based on the ADDIE model, ADDIE, Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate model. And it also is a combination of ADDIE with the 4-door rapid instruction model. And I liked the combination of the two because I believe the motivation behind my model is to engage a learner, especially those that have what's called a fixed mindset versus students that have a growth mindset. A fixed mindset student may have trouble engaging or participating in class and doesn't have the motivation to learn, versus a student with a growth mindset that wants to learn, that is ambitious to learn. When they walk into the classroom, they will take risks, regardless if they have the wrong answer or the right answer. And then there's all the students in between. And I believe that this model can approach any kind of student's learning process. So quickly, just an overview of my model. There's the analysis phase, a creation phase, which is basically the design phase where you design the instruction. What I call learning rooms are where the implementation takes place, and a designer can set up a number of different rooms. This gives them the option to have different activities and different types of instruction. Then moving on to the safe house is where students would have a place to create their project or answer a problem-based project. And this is where the 4-door model is incorporated. I have made this a variable area where they can move back and forth between the safe house and the learning room. So if they need more instruction in one area or want to try activities again, they can move back from the safe house to the self-guided activities, or they can go back to the instructor asking for more instructor-led activities. On to the assessment of discovery. That is the evaluation phase. That's where assessments are done. Students can self-evaluate, and this instructor can evaluate the students and verify if they've met the objectives that were created in the design phase. To go in more detail of the model, I began in the analysis phase, and this is where I really had to set the goals of the instruction, the students that I was aiming for, which would be 4th and 5th grade level students. I really like this for elementary age, at any elementary age, but the students that I decided to use this for was the 4th and 5th grade students. I also had to decide what type of Web 2.0 tools I wanted to use. I knew that I wanted to teach curation and finding resources on the internet, as well as using those interactively with a Web 2.0 tool such as a Prezi or a ThingLink. And I decided to go with the ThingLink just because of time constraints and the student's ability to use the interactive Web 2.0 tool. Being a substitute teacher at my children's elementary school, I know some of the, I know their level that they're at in school as far as using these tools, and most of them haven't used them at all. So I was able to find an after-school program at the Brooklet United Methodist Church, which is a Methodist church here in my small town, and Amy Godby, who is the program director there, graciously opened up one of the rooms for me to use. And I also see this as the analysis phase because we discussed schedules, we discussed how we were going to do it, we discussed how many iPads we were going to need versus if we would need extra laptops. and all the things that we would need in order for the students that we engaged would have the tools that they needed. We decided on one class that she had that we pulled 6 students out of and able to break them into 2 groups. So once I had the analysis completed, I was able to move on to create the lesson plan. During this period of time in the create phase of my model, I created the lesson plan and developed the goals and objectives. This is the lesson plan that I created, and so the unit lesson was called Content Curation and Thing Link Interactive Infographic. The lesson objectives I had to really work on narrowing down. I really wanted to teach them a lot, but I realized that with the time that I had, I really needed to prioritize. So the objectives got narrowed down to finding reliable resources and saving a minimum of 5 resources to their curation site. We ended up using Pearl trees. The students had to create a thing link infographic with a minimum of 5 links, and those links needed to include an image, a website, an article, video, and then something of their choice. The resources that we had were iPads that I had, a couple students had their own, and my laptop, and then also Amy's laptop. Also in the creation part of this phase, this is where I developed a screencast of my own. I recorded a screencast on ThingLink. I also found some other tutorials to use, which I'll show you in the learning room part. And then I created a ThingLink example that I used in the screencast, and I also used in my instruction. I set these up in Pearl trees as a curation site, and I created folders in Pearl trees. Part of the creation process was developing graphic organizers for the students to use to help guide them through completing the project. This is the organizer that I developed for them, and my suggestion was for them to pick out a city and then find resources about that city to use in their ThingLink infographic. The resources they were to save in the Pearl trees, but this was their graphic organizer. Also in the creation process, I developed the rubric that I would follow at the end to see if they met their objectives. And then I also created a self-evaluation graphic organizer for them to fill out to make sure they answered the questions that they needed to answer about their project and their city. And they needed some help through this, but these were the worksheets that I developed for the instruction. So once I had all that created, we were ready to go into the lesson. So in the learning rooms, what we had to do was, this was kind of a metaphor. Our room 1 and room 2 were metaphors. We had one room and we were able to split the kids up. I took 3 kids to do instructor-led activities, and then 3 other children with headphones were able to start on some of the tutorials. So to help me in my instruction part and the individual guided instruction part, I created a folder with all of the resources I would need. I did create a folder for the students to have videos to watch. They could easily access each video. The nice thing about Pearl trees is that they could click on the video and they were able to access the video right here in Pearl trees, and they don't have to go to YouTube. That was one on content curation. This one I created, I recorded a screencast on ThingLink and how to use it. I also utilized a tutorial on ThingLink that somebody else created, which is probably a lot more interesting than the one I created. And then this is just an image that I liked that kind of gave an idea of how much information is out there on the internet and why good resources are important and curation is important. So Pearl Trees was a very good resource for me. I also had a folder here for resource suggestions. So when they started working on their projects in the Safe House, which is the next phase, this just gave them a few ideas for resources that they could use. So in session 2, this is where we entered the Safe House. This is where the students could develop their infographic ThingLink project. There was some obstacles I ran into here, was getting them set up and helping them get all logged in. This took up more time than I expected. Also, although we went over saving images and uploading images, I had to help each one of them get their image uploaded to ThingLink and get them started. But once they got their image up, and then they were able to work independently and link all of the resources that they needed. We took the last 15 minutes to see how they did, and we went into an evaluation process. I did use the rubric during their presentations, and then they also filled out their self-evaluation. What I did find was that the students that got the instruction first seemed to be able to work independently more through creating their project. The students that watched the tutorials first, they weren't quite as engaged when I did the instruction and going over ThingLink. Everybody was able to complete some part of the project. I had 4 students that completed all of the objectives, and then 2 students were able to get some of the links completed, but they didn't get the complete objectives done in ThingLink. This is just an example of a couple of the students. Also, one of my obstacles was getting them to fill out the complete organizer. Being after school, I don't think they saw it as a school project, but this is just an example of one of the students. They did find their resources. They found out some information about the city they wanted to use. So this is a good example of them filling out the organizer. So overall, I feel like the project was a success. I feel like the model helped me organize from the beginning to the end the lesson plan, and making sure that I used my time and the students' time wisely. It helped me prioritize what I needed to teach, and narrow down for the students what they needed, what they were able to learn, and was age appropriate for them. My biggest obstacle, I believe, was finding the facility and finding the people that could work with me on it. And the after-school program, they did a wonderful job with supporting me. And it was a learning experience. I still feel really good about my model, and I think that it could be utilized exceptionally with actual rooms that the students can enter. Also, I think it'd be utilized excellent in virtual rooms and a learning management system. So, but those are beyond my capabilities at this point. So it was a fun and learning experience for me. And this is Brown-Emberton, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you.